One of the most common type of alien people claim to exist are the Greys. Most people describe them as being 4 feet tall with big heads that sit on small gray bodies. The Greys are considered diabolical beings that use humans for experimental purposes. They are also considered to be the most nasty group of extraterrestrials. But these beings didn't just pop up overnight. Some of the oldest evidence of Greys dates back nearly 6,000 years. All of these artifacts were found in what we now call Iraq, and these artifacts closely resemble what we consider the Greys to look like. But even though they have been around for so long, sightings of the Greys went largely unnoticed until World War II, to which some ufologists claimed the Greys helped Hitler with some of his weaponry and experiments. What kind of weaponry, you ask? Well, some conspiracy theories suggest that the Greys were helping Hitler create Nazi UFOs, and these UFOs were used to carry weapons of mass destruction. And it seems he was almost successful. In December of 1965, a bell-shaped object crash-landed in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. A large, brilliant fireball that was seen by thousands in at least 6 U.S. states and Ontario. The object streaked over Detroit and reportedly dropped hot metal debris all over Michigan and northern Ohio. It even ignited some grass fires and caused sonic booms in Pittsburgh. It was generally assumed and reported by the press to be a meteor, after authorities eliminated all other explanations such as a plane crash, missile test, or re-entering satellite debris. However, eyewitnesses in the small village of Kecksburg, about 30 miles southeast of Pittsburgh, claimed something crashed in the woods. A boy said he saw the object land, people saw the smoke, and heard the impact. Others from Kecksburg, including local volunteer fire department members, reported finding an object in the shape of an acorn and about as large as a Volkswagen Beetle. The military claimed they searched the woods and found absolutely nothing. It was considered by skeptics to be one of the many cover-ups the United States has done. Was it the work of the Greys or the Nazis? Maybe both. We may never know. But if the Greys do exist, why would they come to our planet? Why help the Nazis? It has been theorized that Hitler was supplying the Greys with human test subjects for their reproductive experiments, which is what most people believe is the main aim of the Greys. People speculate that the Greys are conducting bioexperimentation to create the ultimate super race. No wonder they got along so well with Hitler. But why come here to another planet probably light years away from their own? Ufologists believe that the reason the Greys conduct biological experiments is because they can't reproduce naturally, because they lack any known reproductive organs, so most of the abductions as of late are newly pregnant women. They abduct the newborns during the first trimester of pregnancy, and they sustain them in glass tubes filled with liquid to recreate the feeling of the womb. And the result is what we now call half-breeds. That's some pretty scary things to think about. But where did all of this stem from? Whether it's real or not, it all has to stem from somewhere, right? September 19th of 1961, New Hampshire. A couple, Betty and Barney Hill, is driving down the highway late at night, headed home from a vacation in Niagara Falls, when suddenly a bright light shined down on their car. Then, nothing. 2 hours later, the couple is at home with no recollection of the last few hours. They try to ignore it, But for the next few nights, they started having extremely vivid nightmares that they could not remember when they woke up. Frustrated, they went to a psychologist named Simon, who tried many different methods to stop the nightmares. Simon thought it was strange that the two could not recall the nightmares that terrorized the two. So he decided to use a method which was somewhat new at the time, hypnotherapy, which is a method where the two were put under hypnosis to hopefully find the root of their problems. It was remarkably successful. Betty recalled being taken onto the ship where they were then separated. The beings then proceeded to do examinations on the couple, also performing a few tests which they believe might have been the extraction of semen from Barney and eggs from Betty. Betty and Barney Hill were the first people in history to reportedly be abducted by aliens. They frequently visited Simon to piece together the whole mystery. And during the sessions of hypnotherapy, one of the greatest clues to extraterrestrial life was discovered. During the abduction, Betty managed to have a conversation with one of the beings. She asked the being where it was from. He took Betty to a star map and pointed. Betty later went back under hypnotherapy and recreated the map. However, sadly, astronomers hit a dead end. That was until a few years later when a few ufologists realized they found a match and a new star system, Zeta Reticuli. To this day, not even skeptics can explain how Betty recreated the map before the system was even discovered. However, not everyone is convinced that these abductions are real. Most of the abductees have no memory of their encounters, so it seems that the Greys have the power to create some sort of amnesia, and it seems like the most effective way for people to clear up this amnesia is hypnosis, but this is a flawed concept. According to Harvard professor Richard McNally, under hypnosis, subjects are open to suggestions, and that most hypnosis accounts are probably just the act of an overactive imagination. They will come up with hallucinations in their mind that they will then confuse with memories. After an extensive social experiment at Harvard University with victims of abductions and victims of other traumatic experiences who had both awakened their memories with hypnosis, Richard diagnosed that the abductees were not victims of extraterrestrials, but victims of sleep paralysis. But Betty and many others are very adamant about their experiences. Some have even had sleep paralysis before and claim that the two incidents are nowhere near alike. So where does the government fit into all this? I already told you about the Kecksburg incident, and sadly that is just one of many. In 1947, New Mexico, a ranger named Mac Brazel came to Roswell and told a story to a newspaper. He had found some strange debris in the desert, and from that incident we now have an elaborate story about a crashed UFO and little gray bodies found scattered nearby that many people believe is the first cover-up by the US government over extraterrestrial life. The US government claimed it was a large spy balloon that went down, not a spaceship. It was claimed to be a secret project to spy on the Soviet Union nuclear projects. But not everyone is buying this. Most of the debris was taken by the US government to the Army base near Roswell just hours after the report was published. Soon after, the government released Project Blue Book, the big so-called government cover-up in which the Air Force completely denied the existence of any extraterrestrial life. However, by the time Project Blue Book came out in 1952, 12,618 reports of alien sightings were documented. and to this day, 701 cases have remained unsolved. And we already know where the grays allegedly are, in Zeta Reticuli. So why don't we just go there and see for ourselves? Well, basically because it's impossible. Zeta Reticuli is relatively close to us in terms of the universe, but it is still too far to travel. At nearly 40 light years, it would take a NASA rocket nearly 1 million years to reach that distance. Through a telescope, Zeta Reticuli can be clearly seen as two stars. Both stars are very similar in mass, diameter, temperature, and brightness to our own Sun. Each star has its own planetary system and are roughly a little less than 1/10 of a light year away from each other. That's about 100 times further than Pluto is from the Sun. It is theorized that both stars could have their own habitable zone, which makes sense to ufologists because there are supposedly two species of extraterrestrial life in Zeta Reticuli, the Zeta Reticulans and the Greys. However, new studies have shown that the stars are reasonably young, 2 billion years old each, which is less than half the age of our own Sun. So some experts believe that cuts the already small possibility of intelligent life in half, as our species is still relatively young, and our Sun is 2.5 billion years older than Zeta Reticuli. Maybe we're just late bloomers. However, ufologists aren't the only ones curious about Zeta Reticuli. NASA is as well. The star similarity to our own has prompted astronomers to search for planets there, but no planets have yet been discovered around either star. The Hubble Space Telescope has never even photographed the system. Why? Well, it's not a conspiracy, rather there is no point, as the Hubble telescope would not be able to see any planets at this distance. This is something it was not designed to do. However, to be honest, based on the distribution of exoplanets in the Milky Way, it would be very surprising if in fact there were no planets in Zeta Reticuli. But because of our methods for finding exoplanets are still pretty limited, it may be a long time before we know for sure. Because sadly, until a new telescope replaces the old Hubble telescope, we will be stuck with these far-off images of Zeta Reticuli. But there is good news. A new telescope is already nearly prepared to take its place. The James Webb Space Telescope is scheduled to launch sometime in 2020. So you might see real-life pictures of little alien Martians sooner than you think. Thanks for watching this short documentary. If you made it this far, why not leave a like? Maybe even subscribe for more great content. We hope you have enjoyed this program. As always, I'm Alex, and I hope you have a fantastic day.